Racist police mocks black girl for saying her dad's in the military until he arrives in uniform. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon in Millstone Creek, a town so small the gas station doubled as the gossip hub, and every passing car was noticed. It was the kind of place where neighbors waved from their porches and the loudest noise came from the crickets after sundown. On this particular afternoon, the streets were almost empty, save for the wind rustling through the branches and the occasional bark of a dog in the distance. 17-year-old Imani Carter sat behind the wheel of her family's old gray sedan. The car smelled like the familiar mix of lemon air freshener and years of wear. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles white from the tension. Her eyes darted between the road ahead and the rearview mirror, not out of paranoia, but out of fear. This wasn't just any drive. Imani wasn't supposed to be driving. At least not by herself. She had a learner's permit, which meant she needed a licensed adult in the car to legally be on the road. But today, there was no adult. Just her. Her mother was home, recovering from surgery. She had barely been able to get out of bed that morning, wincing with every breath and clutching her side. The painkillers had run out the night before. They had forgotten to refill them in time. Her mother tried to wave it off, saying she could make it through the day, but Imani could see it in her face. The tight jaw. The watery eyes. The silent endurance. It wasn't going to hold. So Imani made a decision. A risky one. A bold one. One that made her heart pound like a drum in her chest. She took the keys and drove. The pharmacy was only 7 miles away, just down the long stretch of Highway 12 and past the old water tower. She told herself it would be quick. In and out. No one would notice. No one would care. But Millstone Creek was the kind of town where everyone noticed everything. She was halfway there when the flash of red and blue lights appeared in her mirror. Her stomach dropped. Her breath hitched. She pulled over slowly, her right signal clicking uselessly as she guided the car to the gravel shoulder. The patrol car stopped behind her. She stared ahead, her hands shaking now. Her heart beat faster, faster. She tried to breathe, but her chest felt tight. The officer stepped out. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Pale-skinned. His uniform was crisp, badge polished, boots clean like he had just stepped out of the academy. His name tag read Delacroix. He walked with a rigidness that said he liked rules and wasn't here to talk. He approached her window slowly, deliberately. She rolled it down. "Good afternoon, sir," she said, her voice barely louder than the wind outside. "License and registration," the officer said, without looking at her. His tone was flat. Cold. Mechanical. Imani reached into the glove compartment with slow, careful movements. Her learner's permit was already in her wallet, but her hands were trembling too much to get it out smoothly. She finally managed to hand it over. "I don't have a full license," she said. "I only have a permit. I was just driving to the pharmacy. My mom just had surgery and—" He cut her off. "You know it's illegal to drive alone with just a permit." "Yes, sir, but there's no one else who could drive. My mom is sick. My dad is away, he's in the military." He raised an eyebrow. "Military, huh? Let me guess," she said something dramatic. She hesitated. He continued with a half-smirk. "Special Forces." Imani blinked. "Yes, sir. He's with the Special Forces. He just came back." He let out a short laugh. "You're the 5th kid this month who said that. Always some story about a dad in the Special Forces. Next thing you'll tell me is he's a war hero too." Imani stared at him. Her throat burned, but she kept her expression still. He didn't believe her. He didn't even consider it. To him, she was just another teenager caught breaking a rule. Another black girl with a made-up story. Another excuse. He didn't see a daughter trying to help her mother. He didn't see bravery. He saw trouble. "I'll be right back," he said, and walked back to his cruiser. Imani sat still. Her eyes burned, but she didn't let the tears fall. She had done everything right. She had spoken calmly, told the truth. But none of it mattered. Because he never really listened. He didn't see her. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Her fingers hovered over the screen for a moment. She didn't want to cause trouble. She didn't want her father to worry. But she also knew she couldn't sit here alone. Not while being judged. Not while being dismissed like this. So she typed one sentence. "Dad, I need help, please come." She hit send. Then placed the phone on the passenger seat. The wind outside picked up slightly. Dust swirled along the side of the road. The minutes stretched. The officer stayed in his car, typing something into the computer. Maybe calling backup. Maybe printing a citation. Maybe just passing time, enjoying his authority. Imani sat still, hands folded in her lap, jaw clenched. Her mind raced through memories of her father. How he used to wake her up at 5 in the morning to jog. How he never raised his voice, even when she got things wrong. How he taught her to walk tall, speak clear, and never let fear own her. She needed him now. Not to shout. Not to fight. Just to be there. To remind the world of who she was. And who she came from. She didn't know what he would do when he got there. But she knew this much. When her father showed up, everything would change. The sun had begun to dip lower behind the pines, casting long shadows across the two-lane road. A slight chill crept into the late afternoon air. But inside the car, Imani barely noticed. Her mind was a swirling storm of worry and anticipation. She kept staring into the rearview mirror, watching Officer Delacroix, who still hadn't said another word since returning to his cruiser. 15 minutes had passed. She clutched her phone in both hands now, willing it to buzz. Wishing for a reply. Wishing for anything. But the screen stayed dark. A voice broke through her thoughts. "Step out of the vehicle, please." The officer was back. She opened the door slowly and stepped out, the gravel crunching beneath her sneakers. He eyed her like a prosecutor sizing up a defendant. "You realize this is a serious offense, right? Driving alone with only a learner's permit is grounds for vehicle impoundment and possibly juvenile court." Imani nodded silently. "Speak up. You understand that?" "Yes, sir." "And what about the broken taillight?" Her head tilted slightly. "I didn't know it was broken." He clicked his tongue. Typical. The words hit her like a slap. Short. Sharp. Laced with judgment. She opened her mouth to respond but stopped herself. Anything she said now would just be fuel. He didn't want a conversation. He wanted to punish. Before she could process her next thought, a low hum rose from behind the trees. A car. Fast. Steady. Controlled. It wasn't the sound of a local pickup or a worn-down sedan. This was precise. Intimidating. Almost military. The officer turned his head, one eyebrow lifted. A black SUV pulled off the road in one smooth motion, parking behind the police cruiser. Its engine rumbled for a second, then silenced. The door opened. And out stepped a man whose very presence seemed to pull the wind still. Dark-skinned. Tall. Square-shouldered. His gait was calm but firm, each step deliberate. He wore a pressed army dress uniform. Deep green. Badges shimmered in the setting sun. A bronze nameplate read A. Carter. His chest bore a combat infantry badge, airborne wings, and medals that whispered of places far from this quiet American road. Master Sergeant Andrew Carter had arrived. The officer straightened instinctively. His eyes scanned the uniform, the medals, the posture. "Sir, I." The soldier held up a hand. Calm. Measured. "Is my daughter okay?" Imani took a step forward. "Dad." He nodded to her, and for the first time since the stop began, she felt her lungs expand fully. Yes, I'm all right, she said, her voice cracking. He turned to the officer. She called me. Said she was pulled over for driving with a permit. I'm here to take it from here. The officer cleared his throat, suddenly awkward. Yes. Well. She was driving unsupervised. I had to stop her. It's policy. Carter's eyes didn't flinch. Understood. Then his tone shifted just slightly. Still composed. But there was a weight behind his words now. She told me you laughed at her when she said I was special forces. The officer's face twitched. Well, you have to understand, sir, we hear things like that all the time. Kids make things up when they're scared. It's not uncommon. Carter didn't raise his voice. He didn't step closer. He didn't threaten. But he stood taller. So your instinct was to dismiss her. Not ask questions. Not check. Just assume she was lying. The silence that followed was heavier than steel. She was alone. In distress. You could have called to verify. You could have shown a measure of compassion. Instead, you made her feel small. Sir, I meant no. I didn't come here to argue. Carter looked down at his daughter, then back at the man. I came here to remind you that every child out here has someone who loves them. Someone who fights for them. You don't get to decide who is worthy of belief based on your assumptions. His words weren't loud, but they rang in the officer's ears like a bell. He paused, then reached into his uniform and pulled out his military ID. Here. Since you need proof. The officer took the card with both hands, his gaze shifting from the photo to the man before him. Carter's stare held. Then slowly, the officer stepped back. I think we can consider this resolved. You're here now. She's in your custody. I'll note that. Imani watched him retreat to his cruiser like a balloon losing air. Her father turned to her. Get in the SUV, sweetheart. She opened the door and climbed in. This car smelled like home. Like the man who had tucked her in for years, even when he had just returned from places that didn't feel human. As he slid into the driver's seat, she finally exhaled. Thank you, she whispered. He didn't say anything at first. Just started the car. Then he looked at her. His voice low. Even. You did the right thing. You kept calm. You spoke up. I'm proud of you. Tears filled her eyes, not from fear this time, but from release. I just wanted to help Mom. I know. You did. The SUV pulled back onto the road, the sky now glowing orange behind them. And behind them, Officer Delacroix stood beside his cruiser, still holding the ID card in his hand. The medals on Carter's chest burned into his memory. He had learned something today. The kind of lesson you don't forget. Because truth doesn't shout. It stands still. And makes you look closer. The SUV rolled through the quiet streets of Riverwood, its tires humming a soft rhythm against the pavement. The day had shifted from afternoon to twilight. Porch lights blinked on one by one as the town prepared to rest, unaware of the moment that had just taken place on the outskirts of its own silence. Inside the vehicle, the air was still. Imani stared out the window, her fingers curled loosely in her lap. The adrenaline was fading now, replaced by a strange emptiness. She wasn't crying anymore. But her chest still felt heavy, like there was something she hadn't yet said. Her father's voice broke through the quiet, calm and unhurried. You want to talk about it? She hesitated. I don't know what to say. Say anything. There was a pause. I didn't think it would feel like that, she whispered. Like what? Like I wasn't real. Like nothing I said mattered. She turned to look at him. He laughed at me. Like I was just another black kid making stuff up. I felt so small, Dad. So stupid. Even when I tried to explain, he looked at me like I was beneath him. Carter nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving the road. That feeling. I've known it too. He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. The weight of those words landed between them, a shared truth passed from one generation to the next. But you weren't stupid, Imani. And you were never small. You stood your ground. You were brave. But he didn't respect me until he saw you. The uniform. The medals. That's what changed things. Not me. Not my words. She shook her head. So what does that mean? That I'll never be enough on my own? Carter's jaw tightened for a moment. Then he pulled over. The car idled in front of a small park. Empty now. Just a swing set rocking gently in the breeze and a line of benches facing a field. He turned the key, silencing the engine. Then he faced her. Imani. Look at me. She did. He leaned forward, voice low but steady. That man didn't respect you because he chose not to. He saw your skin, your age, and your gender, and he made a judgment. But that judgment wasn't about your worth. It was about his ignorance. She swallowed hard. People like that, they need the uniform to believe I'm real. They need the medals to see discipline. But those things don't make me a man. They just confirm what I already know I am. You, he said, placing a hand gently over hers, you don't need a uniform to prove your value. Your courage today didn't come from me showing up. It came from you sitting there, scared, and still holding your truth. She stared at him, eyes shimmering. But why do people have to be reminded that we're worth something? Because the world forgets. Or maybe it was never taught. So we teach it. Every day. By showing up. By speaking out. By standing tall. Quietly. Relentlessly. He smiled, soft but proud. You reminded him today. Imani blinked back tears. I didn't feel strong. You were. They sat in silence for a moment. Then she asked the question that had lingered in her mind since the stop. Were you angry? He leaned back, exhaling through his nose. Furious. But I didn't show it. Why not? Because some people are waiting for us to explode. To justify their story. They expect rage. They want the stereotype. And when we don't give it to them, we win. He looked at her. Respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you embody. And you did that today. She smiled faintly. So what happens to that officer now? I don't know. Maybe he learned something. Maybe he doesn't. But he'll remember today. That I'm sure of. They sat in the quiet again, watching the wind push leaves across the empty field. Then her phone buzzed. It was a message from her mother. Thank you, baby. You saved me. Medicine's working. Resting now. Love you. Imani read it aloud. Carter smiled, then reached into the back seat, retrieving a soft black cap with the Army insignia embroidered in gold. He handed it to her. You earned this. She laughed. I thought I had to go through boot camp for that. He chuckled. You just went through something harder. She put it on. It was too big. It sank over her ears and nearly to her eyebrows. But it felt good. Felt like truth. They drove home under a sky slowly turning to stars. Later that night, after dinner and after her mother had fallen asleep, Imani sat in her room. The cap still rested on her desk, beside a framed photo of her parents taken at her dad's last deployment ceremony. She picked up her journal. Wrote only one sentence. Today, I learned that dignity doesn't shout. It stands still and lets the world catch up. And then she closed the book. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story like this. We share real, emotional, and inspiring stories every week that deserve to be heard. Join our community and let these voices be seen. Thank you for watching.